What's up, everybody? Rothstein here, Fame Rothstein Sports Investing Show. All right, link to the podcast is in the bio. Make sure you like and subscribe. Sign up for notifications to this show. Today's Saturday, March 6, 2021. It's about 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A little chilly here. You know, it hasn't really warmed up. It's supposed to be a decent day out here today. About 60. You know, not bad for this time of year. Right now it's still only like 30 degrees. But, let me see. Before I continue, I just want to remind you that if you feel you have a gambling problem, please do not listen to this show. Please contact your state or your local Gamblers Anonymous Association hotline, and hopefully they can get you the services you feel you need, because on this show we discuss sports investing through sports wagering, and we don't want to be any triggers to any negative behaviors for you. So please contact your state or your local Gamblers Help Group, and hopefully they can get you the services you feel you need. Okay? And as usual, this is the bucket low, like fuck it though, edition. Okay? First of all, let's link up on social media if we're not already. My Twitter is at Biggie Rothstein, BIGGIEROTHSTEIN. Okay, my Instagram at fame_Rothstein, FAME_ROTHSTEIN. Email address famerothstein@yahoo.com, FAMEROTHSTEIN@yahoo.com. And make sure you like, subscribe, sign up for notifications to this channel. Leave comments, okay? And also do the same for the homies at the Rocky Izzy Creatives channel. That's 3 words, Rocky, ROCKY, Izzy, IZZY. Creatives, CREATIVES. All right. Well, first of all, last night we went 2-1 on the program, on the podcast. Like, for those of you who don't know, I do a podcast Thursday through Tuesday. I don't do a podcast on Wednesday. And Wednesday, and you can find the podcast on anchor.fm. That's the host. But you can also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Podcasts, TuneIn, about 10 different places, all right? Okay? And sun's rising. It's a little cold still here, like I told you, but the sun is shining because sun is shining. Like I said, 2-1 last night. That was the one we lost was college basketball. Kent State at Buffalo. We said it would go over 154.5, and it went to one. The final score was like 81-67 or something like that. Just missed it by like 8 points. They had a very low scoring first half. But the 2 we won. In hockey, we said that the Blues would beat the Kings on the money line. And we also said that Toledo would cover 9 against Ball State. They laid 9 and won by 19. So we won that as well. Couple things I want to get into before I get into the action today, all right? I got 3 for you today, but let me can I just stroll down memory lane for a second? The other night, I watched we had the Michigan State game, college basketball, on the program. What was that, Thursday night? And we lost that game. We said Michigan State wouldn't lose by more than 12. They lost by like 19. But I saw something that kind of brought some joy to my heart. Well, first of all, Juwon Howard, the coach at Michigan, his alma mater, if you don't remember, those of a certain age remember him well. He played for Michigan. He was a part of that dynamic recruiting class, the Fab Five. It was him, Chris Webber, and Jalen Rose. They all 3 had long NBA careers, and then I think Jimmy King had a cup of coffee in the NBA, might have played a couple years. I vaguely remember him being on a video game. He might have had to almost create him. But I think I want to say he played for one of the Canada teams, Vancouver or somebody. And then there was Jimmy King. I don't think he had any NBA success at all. He might have just had a little less of a cup of coffee than Jimmy King at the best. But like I said, Juwon Howard, the other night when they won that, he's walking around, they won it at home. So he's walking around holding a sign. Then all of a sudden, I think one of the players kind of had him do it or asked him to do it, but he broke out in that old dance, the Cabbage Patch. The Cabbage Patch, like, he was doing that. Brought back memories. It was actually him redoing the dance he did when Michigan won it, or we're going to the Final Four, something like that back in the day, back when he was playing. And it just kind of warmed my heart seeing that. Okay, yeah, Juwon, I like that. I fuck with that. Like I said, it's good to see him coaching his team and whatnot. His alma mater, he's back there, because Michigan went through hell for a while. They almost had to either had the death penalty or almost got the death penalty because of some payment allegations from gentleman. I don't want to say his name because the guy who I'm thinking of is dead, and I just want to, I haven't really. I'm just going over the story by off the top of the head. And the guy who I'm thinking of has passed on, so I don't want to, besmirch a dead guy. But I just want you to, we're in this social media era. I'm not necessarily talking about cancel culture, just how social media blows up everything. And can you imagine what would have happened? Ooh, the sun's coming up. You can barely see me behind these shadows. But can you imagine how social media would have reacted if Chris Webber had called that timeout against North Carolina like he did in the Final Four? I mean, he did that in 92, 93, somewhere around there. I want to say it was 93. That was the year he was the number one pick. So it was his last year at Michigan. Can you imagine him calling that timeout in today's media climate, social media and whatnot? He would be roasted on Twitter, social media, Facebook, and he would get lit up. He called that timeout. Michigan didn't have any. And he called a timeout. So that's a technical foul, 2 shots or 1 free throw, or two free throws and the ball for North Carolina. Pretty much sealed it. And there was always that debate about who would win between the Fab Five and the Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, Greg Anthony, UNLV Rebels. I mean, kind of the same team. Fab Five was bigger, a little taller, because Vegas' 2 guards, Greg Anthony and Anderson Hunt, were only like 6'1" or 6'2". Anderson Hunt I think he was the Jimmy King of the, well, they were 6'1", 6'2". Larry Johnson was listed as 6'7". I've heard he's only like 6'4" and a half. And then there's Stacey Augmon. I mean, he was 6'8". And then they had a center, either George Ackles or Greg Butler, I think his name was Butler. UNLV used to they used to grab rebounds and scream, ah! Kind of intimidate you and shit. People was doing that on hoop courts all throughout the 90s, bruh. Trust me. But yeah, I mean, they both brought a different swag to the game. They both of those teams brought different swag to college football. It was incredible. But, well, speaking of both teams, and everybody on the Fab Five was over 6'6". They were all 6'6" and over. I mean, King and Jackson were 6'5", 6'6". Jalen Rose is 6'8", Chris Webber 6'10", and then Juwon 6'9". So they were definitely bigger. I think Vegas would have beat them. Chris Webber couldn't guard Larry Johnson in college. And Ackles and Butler, Juwon Howard isn't the most athletic big man. I mean, he was good. I mean, the story goes, he was the first one to sign with the Fab Five, and Chris Webber signed next because he always wanted to play with Juwon Howard. That AAU circle for the premier talents, I mean, they all know each other. So, in ABCD camp and whatever, these guys all know each other in high school. They could live miles and miles away. This was before social media, like I said. There were no internet, no emails, none of that. You couldn't, you'd have to pick up the phone and call somebody and pay long distance charges. There weren't even cell phones out back then. Or at least to the general public. I mean, they might have been out and just, finding out a way to mass distribute them. But, the general public had no knowledge of it or access to them. All right. But can you just imagine what social media would have done to Chris Webber for calling that timeout against North Carolina? Then we find out that he may or may not have taken payments from a booster. I mean, I think that's kind of what's causing part of that. Well, I'm not going to say that, but, let Jalen Rose tell you why they don't really kick it no more, why they're not friends. It's really heartbreaking. I really don't like knowing that these guys ain't cool no more. It would be like Stacey Augmon and Larry Johnson not being cool from UNLV. Same thing with them. They beat the fuck out of Duke one year by like 30. Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley, they whooped them. Then Duke gets one player, Grant Hill, the next year, and he's a freshman. Good, but he's a freshman. And then Duke wins it the next year, beats them. Beat them in the semifinals, then beat Kansas in the finals. But UNLV whooped them the year before by 30 in the finals. Larry Johnson, that year they lost, took a last-second three-pointer. He wasn't a great three-point shooter anyway. And they lost. But it's the University of Las Vegas, so you know what they say about Vegas and fixing games and whatnot. And then there's a picture of several players. I want to say it was Augmon, Larry Johnson, and Greg Anthony, but I don't know. So I don't want to diss anybody who wasn't there. I don't have it in front of me. I don't remember it exactly, but they were in a hot tub with a known Vegas gambler and mobster or whatever. And these are college kids in a hot tub chilling with a dude. Somebody said something. I want to say there was something about a Rolex watch involved in that story. But yeah. And so that picture comes out later. So, they're talking all the talk about fixing games and rigged and whatnot. Can you imagine those of you of a certain age who were, at least teenagers in your formidable years or older during that Vegas and during that UNLV and Fab 5 era? Can you imagine what social media would have done to those guys? Had we seen, had social media been out after that Vegas loss to Duke and the hot tub picture, and then the Chris Webber timeout with the accusations of a booster, because Michigan lost all their shit. Final Four bet. It's like that team never existed at Michigan. They might have put it back, in recent years, but it's kind of like that team never existed. They took it down. But yeah, I just wanted to rant about that for a minute. Let me just get into this action, all right? I got 3 for you, all right? Let me get through them real quick because this video's running a little longer than I expected. NHL, today, Saturday, March 6th, NHL, the Florida Panthers at the Nashville Predators. I'm taking that to go over 5.5 goals, all right? College basketball, you've got the Rutgers Scarlet Knights at Minnesota Golden Gophers. We're going to take Rutgers minus 3.5, all right? And the Scarlet and the Illinois Fighting Illini hosting the Ohio State Buckeyes. We're going to take Ohio State on the money line. All right? So there you have it. You still got plenty of time to get online, get in line, and get to the bag. And you know the show's motto. If there's games to be played, there's money to be made. I'll be back tomorrow here on YouTube and the podcast. Told you where you can find it. And on Instagram. Weekends, I do Instagram, podcasts, and YouTube, all right? Wednesdays, I do YouTube only. Thursday through Tuesday is the podcast, all right? So there you have it. Let's go get our action in. Let's be safe. Let's be courteous to each other. And we'll be back tomorrow on YouTube, the podcast, and Instagram to talk about it. But until then, everybody, stay safe. Peace.